Welcome to Brain Boogerz, where we dig into the sticky stuff that shapes our minds and lives. I'm MJ, and today we're exploring a question that's both deeply personal and profoundly social. Who's really in control of our thoughts, actions, and beliefs? Are we the authors of our own stories, or are there invisible hands guiding us, sometimes without our awareness? I want to start with a personal story. Not long ago, I found myself having a strong reaction to a piece of news. I was convinced my opinion was my own, until I traced it back and realized it was shaped by a dozen subtle cues. Headlines, social posts, even the way friends talked about it. It made me wonder, how often do we mistaken outside influence for our own voice? Today, we'll journey through the concepts of internal and external locus of control, social learning, group behavior, propaganda, subliminal communication, and most importantly, how we can reclaim our ability to think critically and act with intention. Let's get started. But before we dive in, if you haven't already, please click subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And if you know someone navigating tricky work or family situations or whatever, share this episode with them. We're all in this together. Also, the content shared on this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only, to spark conversation and self-discovery. This podcast does not offer medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're experiencing mental health issues or have questions about your well-being, please reach out to a qualified healthcare provider or mental health professional. Okay, so first let's talk about locus of control. This concept, introduced by psychologist Julian Rotter, describes the degree to which we believe we have control over the events in our lives. If you have an internal locus of control, you tend to believe, I shape my destiny. My outcomes are the result of my choices and actions. If your locus of control is more external, you might feel that life happens to me. My fate is determined by luck, fate, or powerful others. Let's put this in practical terms. Imagine you're working toward a fitness goal. If you hit a plateau, do you think, I need to adjust my routine and nutrition? Or do you chalk it up to bad genes or bad luck? That's locus of control in action. Research shows that people with a more internal locus of control are generally more motivated, resilient, and proactive. But it's not always so simple. Sometimes circumstances really are beyond our control, and recognizing that can be healthy too. So where do you notice an internal or external locus of control in your own life? Maybe in your career, relationships, or health? Take a moment to reflect. Now, let's zoom out. We're not just individuals, we're social creatures, wired to learn from each other. Psychologist Albert Bandura called this social learning, the process of observing others and modeling their behavior. Think about how kids learn to speak, eat, or even react emotionally. They watch the adults around them. The same is true for us, even as adults. In the gym, for example, we might pick up training habits, lingo, or even body image ideals from those around us. But it goes deeper. Humans are wired for group-coordinated behavior, what some call herd mentality. There's safety and comfort in fitting in, but there's also risk. We might conform even when it goes against our own values or best interests. So here are some examples of group-coordinated behavior in humans. 1. Applause in a crowd. At a concert or talk, people often start clapping when others do, even if they weren't particularly moved, because it's a social signal and feels awkward to be the only one not participating. 2. Fitness classes. In group fitness settings like spin, yoga, or boot camps, participants often push themselves harder, match the instructor's pace, or mirrors others' form driven by the group's energy and expectations. 3. Social media trends. People join viral challenges or mimic popular content because they see it gaining traction with their online tribe, reinforcing a sense of belonging. 4. Workplace meetings. If the majority of a team supports an idea in a meeting, others may go along, even if they have doubts, due to the group pressure or the desire to fit in, sometimes called groupthink. 5. Fashion and style. Trends in clothing, hairstyles, or even slang catch on because people see others in their group adopting them and want to be accepted or seen as in. 6. Standing ovations. At the end of a performance, a few people stand to applaud, and soon the whole audience follows, even if not everyone felt the performance warranted it. 7. Emergency situations. In a crisis, people look to others for cues on how to act. If everyone is calm, individuals are more likely to stay calm. If people panic, panic spreads quickly. 8. Sports fans. Cheering, chanting, or wearing team colors at games creates a unified group identity, and individuals often join in to feel part of the collective. 9. Religious or cultural rituals. Group prayers, chants, or traditional dances are performed in synchrony, reinforcing group identity and shared meaning. And 10. Online mobbing or cancel culture. When a group starts to criticize or cancel someone online, others may join in, amplifying the behavior, even if they wouldn't have acted alone. Group coordinated behavior is everywhere, from the way we clap at events or to how we dress to the way we act in fitness classes or online. Sometimes it's about belonging, sometimes it's about safety, and sometimes it's just habit. The key is to notice when we're acting from genuine choice and when we're simply following the crowd. B.F. Skinner, a pioneer in behavioral psychology, showed that much of our learning is shaped by operant conditioning, rewards and punishments that shape our behavior, often below the level of conscious thought. We might not realize why we feel compelled to check our phones, but those little notifications are powerful reinforcers. Some examples of operant conditioning are: 1. In fitness and training, there's the positive reinforcement. After completing a tough workout, you treat yourself to a healthy smoothie. The enjoyable reward increases the likelihood you'll work out again. The negative reinforcement on this is that you feel anxious when you skip your workout, but exercising relieves that anxiety. The removal of discomfort reinforces the habit of working out. The punishment for this is, if you skip a set in your routine, your coach adds extra burpees. The added punishment makes you less likely to skip sets in the future. 2. Everyday life. Here's a positive reinforcement. A child receives praise or a sticker for doing their homework, making them more likely to do homework again. Here's a negative reinforcement in everyday life. You buckle your seatbelt to stop the annoying car alarm. The removal of the unpleasant sound reinforces seatbelt use. And in everyday life, a punishment that we see is that if you miss a deadline at work, your boss may give you extra tasks. This negative outcome makes you more likely to meet deadlines. 3. Social media. A positive reinforcement here is that posting a photo and receiving likes and comments makes you more likely to post again. A negative reinforcement is that you mute a group chat to stop constant notifications, reinforcing the habit of muting disruptive conversations. 4. Nutrition. A positive reinforcement you may see is that eating a nutritious meal leads to feeling energized and clear-headed, making you more likely to choose healthy foods. The punishment is that overeating junk food causes an upset stomach, making you less likely to repeat that behavior. And 5. Mental health and self-care. A positive reinforcement on this is practicing meditation and feeling calmer afterward increases the likelihood you'll meditate again. A negative reinforcement is that journaling helps reduce stress, so you continue journaling to avoid feeling overwhelmed. So, operant conditioning shows up everywhere, from getting a high five after a workout, to feeling relief when you silence a noisy notification, to learning the hard way when you face consequences for skipping steps. Whether the outcome is a reward or the removal of something unpleasant, these consequences shape our habits, often without us even realizing it. So, can you think of a habit or belief you picked up just because it was normal in your group or community? How did it serve you? Or not? Now, let's turn to the world of influence, propaganda, and marketing. Propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote a particular cause or point of view. Marketing, at its core, is about persuasion, convincing you to buy, try, or believe something. But here's where it gets tricky. Not all influence is obvious. Subliminal communication refers to messages that bypass our conscious awareness. A classic example is the hidden images or messages in advertising meant to trigger desire or fear without us realizing it. During wartime, propaganda posters used colors, slogans, and images to stir emotions and shape public opinion. Today, social media algorithms curate what we see, subtly nudging our beliefs and behaviors. The repetition of certain messages, the use of emotionally charged language, and even background music in commercials all can influence us below our conscious radar. Skinner and other consciousness researchers have shown that repeated exposure to certain cues can shape our attitudes and actions even if we're not aware of it. Here are some real-world examples of subliminal communication. 1. Product placement in movies and TV. A character casually drinks a branded soda or wears a certain logo. Viewers don't consciously focus on the product, but repeated exposure can influence brand preferences. 2. Background music in stores. Retailers are often playing upbeat or soothing music to affect shoppers' moods and encourage longer browsing or specific buying behaviors, even though customers rarely notice the intent. 3. Hidden messages in advertising. Some ads have been accused of embedding quick flashes of words or images like "buy now" or product logos within video frames, too brief for conscious recognition, but enough to register subconsciously. 4. Color psychology in marketing. Fast food chains often use red and yellow in their branding because these colors can stimulate appetite and grab attention, influencing choices without people realizing why. 5. Social media algorithms. Platforms subtly curate content to keep you scrolling, showing you posts that trigger emotional reactions or match your interests, shaping your beliefs and behaviors without overtly telling you what to think or do. 6. Supermarket layouts. Essential items like milk and eggs are placed at the back of the store, forcing shoppers to walk past tempting displays and impulse buys, using subtle environmental cues to drive purchasing. 6. Political campaigns. Campaign ads or speeches might use emotionally charged music, patriotic colors, or images of family and community, all to subtly evoke positive associations with a candidate or cause. 8. Logo design. Some logos incorporate hidden symbols or messages, like the arrow in the FedEx logo, that create subtle associations or feelings of movement and progress. And 9. Packaging and scent marketing. Stores may use pleasant scents like fresh bread in a bakery to subconsciously increase appetite and sales. Subliminal communication isn't just about secret messages and ads. It's the music we hear at the store, the colors brands use, and even the way social media feeds are designed. These subtle cues can influence our feelings and choices, often without us realizing it. Ever found yourself craving a snack after seeing an ad or humming a jingle you didn't even realize you heard? That's the power of the imperceptible at work. Now, when was the last time you made a choice, big or small, and only later realized it was influenced by something you saw, heard, or read? Let's quickly talk about biases. Our brains use shortcuts, called heuristics, to make decisions quickly. These are helpful, but they can lead us astray. Confirmation bias makes us seek out information that supports what we already believe. Authority bias makes us trust figures in power, sometimes blindly. In-group bias leads us to favor those who are like us. Social conditioning is the process by which society teaches us what's normal, right, or desirable. Over time, repeated messages through media, family, or culture become automatic responses. In the fitness world, think about how certain body types are idealized and how diet fads catch on. In mental health, stigma can keep people from seeking help simply because that's just how it is. Autoresponses are those gut reactions, like feeling anxious when you see a certain number on the scale, or judging someone based on a stereotype you absorbed long ago. So what's one belief or habit you have that, when you really examine it, might be a product of social conditioning rather than your own authentic choice? And how do we move from being passive recipients to active thinkers? Critical thinking is the key. It's the ability to pause, question, and analyze, not just accept things at face value. Many people feel guilty, anxious, or even disloyal when they question group norms, popular opinions, or long-held beliefs, especially if those around them aren't practicing critical thinking. Here are some ways to address and reframe those feelings. 1. Reframe critical thinking as self-respect, not rebellion. Remind yourself that questioning, analyzing, and reflecting isn't about being difficult or contrarian. It's about honoring your own mind and values. It's a form of self-respect and personal growth. 2. Normalize discomfort as part of growth. It's normal to feel uneasy when you challenge old beliefs or group norms. Discomfort is a sign of learning and growth, not failure or betrayal. 3. Remember, questioning isn't the same as rejecting. Thinking critically doesn't mean you have to abandon your community, family, or values. It simply means you're making choices consciously rather than automatically. 4. Practice self-compassion. Notice any guilt, shame, or anxiety that comes up, and treat yourself with kindness. Remind yourself, it's okay to think for myself. It's okay to ask questions. 5. Seek like-minded communities. Find spaces, online or in person, where curiosity and open dialogue are celebrated. You're not alone in wanting to think deeply and authentically. 6. Communicate with empathy. If your critical thinking leads to conversations with others, approach them with curiosity and respect rather than confrontation. I'm exploring this idea. What do you think? Is less threatening than, you're wrong. And 7. Celebrate your courage. Recognize that it takes bravery to think critically, especially in environments where conformity is the norm. Give yourself credit for your willingness to grow. If you ever feel uneasy or guilty for thinking critically, remember, questioning isn't about rejecting your group or your past. It's about honoring your own growth. Discomfort is natural, but it's also a sign you're taking your mind and your values seriously. Give yourself compassion, seek out supportive communities, and celebrate your courage to think for yourself. Now, here are some practical strategies for critical thinking. Pause and question. Next time you react strongly to a message or idea, ask yourself, why do I believe this? Where did this belief come from? Seek diverse perspectives. Challenge yourself to read or listen to viewpoints different from your own. Practice metacognition. This means thinking about your thinking. Notice your patterns, triggers, and assumptions. And mindfulness and journaling. Take time each day to reflect on your beliefs and where they might have come from. So, grab a journal and write down 3 beliefs or habits you hold. For each, ask, did I choose this or did I inherit this? Does it still serve me? Remember, critical thinking isn't about doubting everything, it's about being intentional and aware. Dark manipulation tactics are also strategies used, often deliberately, to influence, control, or exploit others for personal gain, typically by bypassing critical thinking or exploiting vulnerabilities. These tactics can show up in personal relationships, workplaces, marketing, politics, and media. Here are some key examples. 1. Gaslighting. Making someone question their own reality, memory, or perceptions. For example, that never happened, you're imagining things. 2. Love bombing. Overwhelming someone with excessive affection or attention to quickly gain trust or dependency, then withdrawing it to destabilize them. 3. Guilt tripping. Making someone feel guilty to influence their actions. For example, after all I've done for you, you owe me. 4. Fear mongering. Using fear to manipulate decisions or beliefs. An example is political ads that exaggerate threats to sway votes. 5. Triangulation. This is bringing a third party into a conflict to create confusion, competition, or insecurity. 6. Isolation. Cutting someone off from friends, family, or support systems to increase dependency and control. 7. Projection. Accusing others of one's own negative behaviors or intentions to deflect blame. 8. Blame shifting. Avoiding responsibility by always placing blame on others, making the victim question their own actions. 9. Silent treatment. Withdrawing communication or affection to punish or control. 10. Information withholding. Deliberately keeping important information secret to maintain power or advantage. 11. False urgency. Creating a sense of immediate crisis to pressure someone into quick, uncritical decisions. For example, this offer ends in 30 minutes. 12. Mirroring. Copying someone's behaviors, interests, or language to quickly build false rapport and trust. 13. Divide and conquer. Creating divisions within a group to weaken collective resistance and increase the manipulator's control. And 14. Emotional blackmail. Using threats, guilt, or fear to force compliance. For example, if you really cared about me, you'd do this. Dark manipulation tactics are designed to bypass your critical thinking and exploit your emotions, whether it's making you doubt your memory, isolating you from support, or using fear to control your choices. Recognizing these tactics is the first step in protecting your autonomy and well-being. So, how can we tell when we're being manipulated or used as a puppet? Some warning signs are: you have a strong emotional reaction to a message or a media, be it fear, anger, or urgency. You feel pressure to conform, even if it doesn't sit right with you. And there's a gap between your values and your actions. If you notice these signs, here's what you can try. 1. Step back and reflect. Give yourself space before reacting. 2. Fact check and seek evidence. Don't take things at face value. Look for supporting information. 3. Connect with trusted mentors or communities. Get input from people who encourage your growth, not just your agreement. And 4. Practice self-compassion. Everyone gets influenced sometimes. The goal isn't perfection, but awareness and growth. Think of a time you realized you were being influenced or manipulated. How did you recover? What did you learn? Before we wrap up, I wanted to present a few other related but distinct psychological terms and concepts and other locus frameworks in psychology. They are 1. Locus of evaluation, which refers to where a person seeks validation or judgment about themselves and their actions. With an internal locus of evaluation, you trust your own values, feelings, and judgments. For example, I feel proud of my work because it aligns with my standards. With an external locus of evaluation, you rely on others' opinions or societal standards for validation. For example, I'll only know I did well if others praise me. This is central in Carl Rogers' person-centered therapy. I recommend you check out his books. Absolutely amazing. 2. Locus of causality. Often used in motivation research, it refers to whether the cause of an action is perceived as internal, being a personal choice, or external, with outside pressure. 3. Locus of responsibility. This is often used in counseling and multicultural psychology. It reflects whether a person attributes responsibility for problems to themselves or external sources. And 4. Locus of attention. In mindfulness and performance psychology, this describes whether your focus is internal, be it your thoughts and feelings, or external, the environment or task at hand. Understanding these frameworks helps with self-awareness, personal growth, and communication, especially in mental health and coaching contexts. For example, shifting toward an internal locus of control or evaluation is often linked to greater resilience, autonomy, and well-being. So, we're all shaped by forces both visible and invisible: our own beliefs, the groups we belong to, the media we consume, and the subtle cues all around us. But with awareness, reflection, and critical thinking, we can reclaim our agency and choose our own path. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into internal and external locus of control. If you found this episode helpful, I'd love to hear your thoughts or stories. Reach out, share your experiences, and let's keep growing together. Until next time, keep questioning, keep reflecting, and keep moving forward. And join me where we'll pick and dig in on Brain Boogerz.